Thank you very much. And indeed, to continue this particular conversation, I'm now joined by Collins Kowor, who is a land economist. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Welcome.
Okay, politicians have been asked to keep the land debate off their campaigns because it is catered for in the Constitution. What does the Constitution say in terms of land reforms?
Betty, I think that's a very nice question, I must say. I think we gave our position a professional position also as institutional surveyors of Kenya, for which I'm the chair. Our view was that it's not a matter of it being out of the debate. It is that it needs to be discussed soberly. It needs to be discussed within the confines of the constitutional provisions, the institutional framework that is in place, and the legal framework. Because we believe that there needs to be a rule of law to encourage investment in real estate, to ensure that solutions that are long-lasting are found regarding the land sector. And the Constitution has provided quite broad principles which are very good if well implemented. There are laws which have been done also regarding the land issue, which if implemented are also going to sort out the problem. Once the institutions which are supposed to be in place are also in place, I'm optimistic that we are going to have most problems addressed. They may not be addressed overnight because they've also taken long to have those problems, but they will eventually be addressed. And we must start addressing them by implementing those provisions and also having the institutions in place. If we go to the Constitution, I think I like Article 60, which talks about the 7 principles on which you need to manage land in this country. And those principles will ensure that land is managed efficiently, productively, and sustainably, and also equitably in the country. One of the principles is called the security of land tenure. Security means that the rights that you have in the land, once they are documented in a title document, needs to be guaranteed by the state. It needs to be certain. You must be sure, and you want to be sure, that once you have a title document given by the state, no government can change it. Nobody can say that it was a wrong one.
So this will take care of all these issues, especially in Syokimau, where in different places in the country where people say they have the title deeds, but then their land, their houses are demolished.
Surely it will, because most problems land arose from 3 aspects. One major one was the legal aspect, where we borrowed British laws, and there were quite a number which were operating in this country. Those have now been codified into one law, the Land Act and the Land Registration Act. So when there were so many laws, there were contradictions. There were rooms also for confusion. A simple thing like, say, the surveying. There were 2 major documents used to issue the title document. One is the deed, where most people talking about the title deed.
Yes.
Then there's a recent one where you have and there's no map attached behind it. Now there are other different models. Those could create problems. The title document had 7 laws. So that would also create a problem. Those were loopholes. Systems and documents about land being managed manually was also another problem. Now, all this should be addressed through a legal framework going forward.
Let me take you back just a bit. We've had land commissions being formed, the Akiwumi, the Ndungu report. Have all this, the recommendations that they proposed, been acted upon?
I would say the recommendations have been covered in principles. And principles are always good solutions because they are long-lasting and they give you a broader framework which you can fit in and codify it. Those 7 principles I was talking about has emanated from some of those studies. There were some as old as Swaneton plan, which came into place. If I go ahead about another principle of equitable access to land, I think it's another beautiful principle. And I tell people not to confuse with equality, not equal access. You can't have same size of land, but you need to access land in terms of the size that you need to produce something and in terms of what you want to produce. And not everybody can also own land. So that's why it talks about access. The same way tenants get into a house and are able to stay but not owning that apartment or that house.
Okay.
So they are beautiful principles. Gender discrimination is one of those. There's going to be no gender discrimination in terms of land issues in this country.
Okay.
Effective and cost administrative systems are going to be in place. Those are quite nice principles because the process of even transferring your property currently is quite costly, both in terms of money and in terms of time.
Okay.
So if they implemented fewer systems and we are going to have the solutions.
Okay, let us talk about the particular, the land that we're sitting on right now, Kibera. It has been land under a lot of contention. The Nubians, who have been in Kenya for over 100 years, say and believe that they were given about 4,000 acres of land by the British colonial government. And this particular area, the Kibera, is one of those pieces or parcels of land. Do you think their issue will ever be solved in terms of giving them title deeds? Looking at the next leadership which is set to come?
I think that's another interesting question, which is one of the most contentious, but I'm optimistic those are going to be resolved.
Okay.
If you even leave alone the Nubians, we were taught in primary school that the Bantus came from DRC into here, and the Nilotes came from Egypt and Sudan to settle here. And they came even older, and they have issues. All this would ordinarily fall under the community land, on which an act of parliament is still being done, but the constitution has recognized it. And there are problems which arose when there is an aspect was tried called the group ranches for the pastoralist areas. The challenges which we experience are going not to be repeated in the new law. It's currently being formulated, and I'm optimistic those are going to sort out that. The Land Act has provided various interests in land on which you can have a title document in terms of the length of the leases, in terms of the various variants. Now, in my view, those should help in the documentation. But remember the principle I talked about earlier, where in my view, that security of land tender is more critical. It's more important than the document in itself. So the document is just an instrument guaranteeing that. There are countries, like in Sweden, where you don't even have any paper about the property that you own.
Okay.
You just know the number and you know where it is, and it is guaranteed.
All right.
I think that's where you want to go.
Indeed. Thank you very much. We're going to give it back to the studio, Eric Njoka, and then we'll continue with this particular conversation. Indeed, we're coming to you live from Kibera here in Nairobi, the land issue in question. Njoka.